me. Okay.
Dale Oftedal.
Dale Oftedal. And
Sogy.
Sogy.
Yeah.
Legendary Sogy.
Yeah.
They did all the crazy dancing at all the concerts. Freelance dancing, you know.
Yeah. That was the first time I ever saw that. We were at
Probably the
Rainbow Ballroom. Before the bands came out, the floor was empty, and they were playing some music over the PA, and there was some guy with really long hair and no shoes on dancing the free-form hippie dance. And I think I said to you, who's that guy or somebody?
Yeah.
And you knew who he was?
Sogy, I just knew his name, what he went by. I didn't know his full name at the time.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't find out his real name until like 6-7 years ago, when they had an event down at the record store, and he was there, and I was like, "You're Sogy?"
He's still kicking.
Still kicking. He was selling those posters.
Really?
Yeah, signed posters.
Wow.
Yeah, for like $20 each, you know.
Yeah.
So I got one. But yeah, that was the first time I ever saw that freeform dancing thing. Yeah. And Sogy, and
he did Did he do the mural on Belmont Avenue? This big transmission place. It was right behind what was it?
The Wiener Schnitzel.
Wiener Schnitzel, yeah. Right.
B&M Custom Transmissions.
Right.
I remember seeing them there up on the, and I go, well, that's that Sogy guy.
And Jimmy Zupko must have known him because of the fact that how else did we get the Walrus, the Studebaker that we were driving around in, that was painted by him? Because, I didn't own a car at that time. You didn't.
Right.
And Jimmy didn't, I don't believe. So I don't know. He must have known him, I imagine.
Wow.
And that was like a real hippodrome type of Studebaker with all kinds of nose art painted on it. And
oh wow.
Yeah. I
cool.
remember it was blue, basic blue, and then
after that, after the late 60s, I never seen or heard anything from Sogy at all until about 2016 at that event at Tower District Records, and he was there with his stuff on display. And I was shocked to find out he ended up becoming a professor at Fresno State, art teacher.
Really?
And a well-known pinstriper. He pinstriped a lot of famous show cars.
Wow. I didn't know
that.
Amazing. Yeah, he was a great artist.
Another thing I found out about him that I didn't know I wanted to ask you about was I read that, or heard from someone, that he was also in a band at the time, and it was called the Feingold Creek Band.
Okay.
Did you ever hear of that?
No, I hadn't.
And I thought, wow, that'd be interesting if there was any recordings or remembrances of a band that guy was in.
Yeah. It must have been over the top, just like he was. I don't know. It would be interesting to find out.
I remember somebody asked a question, this was about 6 or 8 years ago, what was the first rock concert you ever went to? I think it was the Rolling Stones at Ratcliffe Stadium for me. Did I go to the Rainbow Ballroom before that? Or?
I don't know.
Did you go to the Rainbow Ballroom before the Rolling Stones?
No, I probably
because the Stones were 65.
Yeah.
And before 65, I don't think we were quite old enough to go to the Rainbow Ballroom.
Right.
14?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because I remember we got involved with the guy at K-Make Radio who sponsored the show at Radcliffe with the Stones.
Oh, yeah, they put it on.
Yeah. We went to, and I don't know if Jimmy knew him or you knew him, but we got in to see this one guy that was doing DJs, and it was midnight till 6 or something.
Yeah.
And I remember going in there, and he would listen to all the new tunes. So he'd bring in something like, who was it? Them.
Yeah.
Mystic Eyes.
Yeah.
Baby Please Don't Go.
Yeah.
Van Morrison and them.
Oh, yeah.
And
love
all
that
the seeds and all the newest releases would be considered underground because that wasn't really and his show Midnight to 6 or whatever it was, I don't really quite remember the time frame, but there was a lot of new music coming in that you don't play during normal hours, and he would sneak stuff in that was really different and unique, so that was where we got more of an emphasis on the newest rock and roll that was coming out on the airwaves anyway,
Yeah.
But,
So the gigs we went to, I think the first one was the Rolling Stones at Ratcliffe Stadium, and that would have been, I think that was May of '65.
I think so.
Yeah, and I remember we went from my house in the projects there over to the gig on our skateboards. Didn't we ride our skateboards over there?
Yeah.
Me and you, and I want to say...
I don't know who else. I don't even remember who else was there.
If it was Jimmy or maybe Richard Morello might have been there.
Might have been, yeah.
But I remember going there and we were on the cheap seats on the other side.
Yeah, $2 to see the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yes.
Compared to prices today, $200 for the cheap seats at the Rolling Stones.
I remember being there at the Rolling Stones. My most vivid memory of it, watching them play, was when they decided near the end of their set to turn all their amps around so they could face us.
Yeah.
And there's even a clip of it, of them actually scooting the amps around so they could face us, because we were watching them from behind.
Right.
And once they turned it and they did that song, Everybody Needs Somebody to Love.
Right.
And he sang, and Mick sang that song, and I need you, and you.
Out.
And I said, he's pointing at us.
And then the riot happened after that.
Yes.
Right. Oh, were they doing that, or were they doing the last time?
I don't know what the last song was, but in the middle of the last song,
all hell broke loose.
All the girls decided to rush the stage.
Right. And they had an armored car that they jumped into in the back of it, and it took off because everything was getting pretty hairy. I remember seeing one guy getting kicked in the stomach from the PD or security. PD.
Yeah.
And came off the stage, because he was getting on the stage. The guy just like, boom.
Wow. Yeah.
But it got crazy. And that's one of the things that Stone's attracted to is a rowdy crowd, like some contemporary, or I shouldn't say contemporary groups. Like, I understood that was like what happened when Mott the Hoople played a lot in England. There was a lot of like, riot type stuff happening.
All the young dudes carry the news.
Yeah.
Boogaloo too.
All the way from Memphis.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was great stuff.
Yeah, the Rolling Stones. And then the other, did you go ahead?
No, I was going to say so many groups that we saw. It seemed like it, there was also a lot of things that were going on at Roding Park that were sort of like underground parties that we went to. I thought you and I went to them. I know I'm almost positive Jimmy was there.
Okay.
Because everybody was sort of like, okay, we're playing this music. We had a record player and out at one of the little picnic tables that had electricity near it.
Yeah.
And the cops were coming around going like, are you guys drinking? Why are you guys happy? You guys were so party. What's going on here? Oh, no, we're just enjoying the music. And we're all like, okay, illicit drugs and whatnot.
Well, everybody's on LSD.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I think you're talking about...
they didn't know anything about it,
I think you're talking about the human being at Roding Park.
Yeah.
And I did go to one of those. I have the faintest memory of being there and seeing Bill Bixler there and some of his pals. I think they were the guys in the Wild Blue Yonder band. And I remember they had on like robes.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No. I was looking at the clouds, looking at all the pretty pictures in the clouds,
Yes, right, right.
I didn't want to have anything to do with what's on terra firma.
Yes, yes.
Pretty much, anyway.
Yeah, the human being at Roding Park. That was a pretty big deal.
And then what other music was coming around? I remember going to see the Seeds at the Marigold Ballroom. Yeah. And that was a kick in the butt type of
pushing too hard.
Yeah, that was a great concert. And they were a good band.
Yeah.
And then who else? Someone played at a roller rink. I think it was the Dead, and we went to see that.
Jefferson Airplane.
And Jefferson Airplane, correct.
Well, I remember going to that at the Wonderland skating rink on the corner of Blackstone and Shaw.
Yeah.
And I remember the way I got into the show, because I didn't have any money, is I don't know if you got in the same way
Through
too.
the window?
Yes.
Yes, in the was it girls' bathroom, men's bathroom?
It was the girls' bathroom.
Yeah, we just charged it like
Somebody-
I'm gonna get in there.
I thought to myself, why in the fuck would I go to a gig without any money? But I think I would just go and try to figure out if there's some way to get in or panhandle or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're standing around outside and somebody says, hey, the window's open. We go around the back of the building and there's a window open and a girl's up there going, come on, you can get in this way. And I remember
and we're like, whoa.
climbing in and getting inside the venue, and I went right up to the front and watched Jefferson Airplane. It was one of the most memorable anyway, so you're at Sutro Baths.
Yeah, we're at Sutro Baths and we're smoking some opium and this and that. And we're getting ready to go to the show at the Winterland. Wow. And then we decided, well, we have to do these acid hits too. So we did that. And by the time we got to Fillmore area and say Geary.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
We turned left to go over that little overpass that goes over Geary.
Yeah.
And we stopped at the stoplight.
Yeah.
And we were like, really heavily tripping at that point.
Yeah.
And we going through like the lights, and there was a car in front of us, and we went through 3 cycles of this light. And like, what are we doing? And then we get out. I don't know whether Ray got out. I think Ray got out because he was driving. And he goes over to this white Cadillac that's been sitting there. And this big black dude's in the front seat, passed out with a bottle of whiskey or something by his side. And it took us 3 cycles of the light to realize, what the hell is going on here? We got to get to see the Hendrix show at the Winterland. What are we doing?
Yeah.
That was just the preempt of the Hendrix show, which was probably pretty good because I don't remember an awful lot about the show, only certain moments and certain situations. Remember Electric Flag and playing and then
Buddy
Hendrix.
Miles.
Yeah, Buddy Miles. And then then it was just like too much smoke in the entire auditorium and too much wine being passed around. And it was like, don't remember a whole lot other than it was great. But yeah, can I remember any specifics? Well, not really. Just the vibe.
But I'm so proud we got to see Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, it was great.
The greatest guitar player of all time, a rock guitar player. He's listed number 1
Innovative.
on Rolling Stone. And yesterday I was listening to Cream from that jam song they did, Crossroads.
Crossroads or Spoonful,
Maybe it was... No, it was Crossroads. And I thought to myself, the second best guitar player, Eric Clapton. Yeah. Hendrix could do Clapton, but Clapton couldn't do Hendrix.
Yeah, well, but Hendrix had a lot of tricks up his sleeve.
Man,
he had
a great guitar
and
player.
he knew an awful lot. I think that was with touring with, who did he tour with? Little Richard and the Isley Brothers. And doing the Shetland circuit, and playing one-night stands and not getting paid and all the above, just like every musician that goes through that Shetland circuit probably dealt with, it's just insane when you think about it.
But anyways, one of the other really cool gigs we saw was at the Rainbow Ballroom. We saw Santana pretty early on. I think it had to have been about 1966 when he went by the Santana Blues Band.
Right.
And do you remember seeing him play there? I rember.
Yeah, I remember the show. It was a great show.
Greg Raleigh on the Hammond B3 organ.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And that sound.
That was so killer.
And it was sort of a mix, it was almost sort of like, Cuban-esque and salsa rolled into one.
Yeah.
How he approached it, and I think that primitive beat and drive is what really made it. Made it really. Like, oh man, that's great.
Blues and psychedelia mixed with the Cuban Latin rhythm beat. That
approach.
It was great stuff.
It was early on stuff was phenomenal.
And so after the Santana gig, we walked across the street to the Vagabond Motel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we
remember
heard that he was staying over there, the Santana Blues Band.
No, I thought he told us to go over there. We saw him off stage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's when we went over there and knocked on their, hey, come on in. And we just sat and rapped and BS'd and smoked ganja and drank wine.
Wow. Wow. It was
stuff.
amazing. I thought Carlos Santana was so kind to us two little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That was wonderful meeting him.
And that amazing story, too, about you talking to him about what you pictured when he was playing about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who was it?
Yeah, I remember telling him that what I envision when I hear his music as a beautiful native girl running through the jungles. And he said to me the most coolest thing. He said, yeah, I think about the same thing, and one of these days I'm going to catch her.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember him talking about driving and coming to Fresno, and he said, oh, and I imagine, I don't know what route he took, mind you, or him, the band or the band's bus or whatever, but he says, and it's like a snake. You know, it's sort of like just a snake. You're just traveling on this road, and you feel like you're just one of the scales on the snake's back. And he was just getting all...
He has this philosophical vibe to him that we really liked.
And I don't know that, you know, I don't know whether that was showmanship or that was, you know, a real internal dialogue he had with himself.
I think that's just him as a person. You know.
And I remember you said something about his guitar. It was sitting there on the bed.
It was laying on the bed, and I remember it was a Les Paul, and there was no finish on it. And I thought,
naked wood,
coolest guitar, man.
Yeah,
and that guy had the coolest touch on the fretboard. A couple of other shows we saw at the Rainbow Ballroom, I remember seeing 13th floor elevators open for either Santana or one of the other ones.
Janis Joplin, maybe.
And I remember I didn't like 13th floor elevators because the guy played the jug.
Yeah.
And the jug would go, boop, 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 boop. And I thought, what the hell does that add to the... This would be a cool
to
band
the mix. Yeah.
If that wasn't in it.
Yeah.
But so anyways, and then years later on, once I heard some 13th floor elevator songs, I was like, oh my God, I was ignorant. They were like the coolest psychedelic, edgy, proto-punk kind of band, you know. Yeah. But also Buffalo Springfield at the
the Rainbow.
At the Rainbow with Neil Young with the fringe jacket.
Yeah.
And wow, Buffalo Springfield was so cool.
That was that was a good show. And what else? I'm trying to think. I know, and I didn't see it, unfortunately, but I think it was later on that Fleetwood Mac played there with Peter Green.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that was one of the last dates that he supposedly was with him.
Yeah.
And it had to be later on, like 69 or something, you know,
yeah,
late
they were a
69.
full-on blues band.
Yeah. I really love their stuff. Jeremy Spencer, and I thought their stuff was great.
Yeah. We went to this big outdoor Woodstock type of event, I believe it was about 69, called the Love County Fair.
Love County Fair.
Now, you have vivid memories of that because we were chatting about it.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think of
Well, it was great fun. You know, I remember horseback riding on a horse that I could barely control, but that was part of the fun too.
Yeah.
You know, shooting down the hills and people going like, whoa. You know?
I remember they advertised horseback riding on the flyer.
Yeah. But I don't remember anybody that played there. There was supposedly like 3 groups or something that were going to play.
They didn't show up.
And nobody, it was a no-show.
They canceled out. I believe it was Quicksilver and Country Joe and the Fish. They both canceled out. So the headliner ended up being Sandy Bull.
Yeah.
Sandy Bull. I couldn't remember anything about Sandy Bull. I had to go find out what he did. And wow, he's just kind of a jammy, kind of acoustic guitar, psychedelic on the acoustic guitar kind of a thing. Right. It was okay. I didn't like it so much. But the other thing I remember so much about that gig was we snuck into that gig too.
We were high rollers. Yeah. Yeah, we snuck into all the great gigs.
Because we figured out that, oh, wow, there's the entrance where you go in and you would go in and pay and then go in and park. And we figured out, well, if we park back there a half a mile back, we can just climb over that barbed wire fence and walk. And that's what we did.
Yep.
We walked in for free.
Yep.
Now, who all was with us? Me and you? Was there some other folks?
Jimmy. I think Jimmy was there, and Irene was there. Irene Zupko and Jimmy Zupko, and I think, oh God, what was it? I can't remember all the names, but a couple other ladies and one guy, and that was about it.
Now you drove your car?
I drove
your panel truck.
My 48 Ford, the panel truck.
That's the coolest car, man.
Yeah, that was a great car.
Yeah, so you had that by then, so that must have been 69.
No, that was 69, yeah.
69, yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember
when you got the truck?
Yeah, I got it in late 68.
Okay.
And then that was in spring when we went there, so it had to be 69. Because I got it, I think, in October. And I did work on it,
Right.
And then, right around the corner.
The other memory I have of that Love County Fair was the first time I saw all the bikers together at one event. And because it was outdoors and it kind of in the dirt, man, they made such a ruckus. All the motorcycle riders grouped together like a long ways away from the stage, and all the other people that wanted to watch the bands were up there by the stage, but all the bikers congregated over under a tree or something. Yeah. And I remember them getting into fist fights and kicking up dust and stuff. And that started my dislike of bikers.
Yeah, well, was that after Altamont when the Stones played, or was that before?
I wonder if it was before or after.
I think it was before, wasn't it?
It might have been, yeah. So, David, somewhere there in late 1966, we got the bright idea to go to Haight Ashbury and live in a commune. And how did we get that idea?
Well, I think we ended up through Jimmy meeting Ben McKenzie, and he had the Psychedelic Shack, and it was the first one in Fresno that had dealt with any kind of underground posters and things of that nature. And it was on Belmont. I think it was right off Fulton,
Yes.
And we ended up going there to help out because that was the year that there was floods. And there was, we put sandbags in the front of his door so the water wouldn't come in to his shop.
Yeah.
And through that, we ended up hanging out there, of course. Yeah. And then we saw all the underground newspapers,
Yeah. The Los Angeles Free Press and the San Francisco Oracle.
Right.
Those were the two I remember. There were probably some other ones.
I don't know whether the Berkeley Barb was going on then,
been.
I'm sure it was going on then, but I don't know if he had that.
But I remember specifically seeing the Free Press there.
Yeah. And the Oracle.
I believe one of us bought a copy of it and opened it up, and in there they had the story about Haight Ashbury.
Yeah.
We read about it, and it was like this hippie commune where you could go live and be in a commune, and we got sold on it.
And everything was probably free.
Yeah,
that's probably why.
Yeah. Whose idea was it that we should go up there and go to San Francisco?
I think it was a mutual idea because of the fact that you were having problems at home.
Yep.
I had just got out of juvenile hall.
Yeah.
I was 16 and they made me cut my locks, made me cut my hair.
Yep.
And I was still embittered and outraged about all that. Mm-hmm. And I said, and I was working at the bakery, DeVecchio's bakery on the west side. Yeah. And it was like, okay, I get paid Friday. You stay out of trouble, stay away from home because your mom's going to throw you back in juvenile hall.
Yeah.
And wait till Friday when I get paid and we'll take off to San Francisco. And that is how that.
Okay.
I think it was just happenstance.
Right.
We'd read about it and we thought, hey, now's a good time to just escape.
And
everybody's going to be in trouble if we don't.
I believe that was about January of 67. Could have been December of 66?
No, it was 66.
Okay.
It was probably, I thought it was right after Thanksgiving.
It wasn't during a Christmas vacation? I thought it might have been during Christmas vacation.
I'm not sure.
But you think it was late 66?
Yeah, 66, because I remember turning 17 when we lived there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was February.
Because yours was in February. Jimmy's was also in February, and mine was in March. All three of us turned 17 up there.
Yeah.
We're all born in 1950.
I guess those alignments in the stars sort of brought us together.
Well, we were in the same grade at school.
Yeah, exactly. That's the bottom line.
That was what did it. So there was the reason why we went to San Francisco, and so we decided to go, and we packed up our suitcase and our. I remember I had a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And we rode the train to Oakland.
Yeah.
And then the bus from Oakland to San Francisco. And by the time we got into San Francisco at the bus station there, was it like real early in the morning, like at 5 a.m. or something like that, 6 a.m.?
I don't recall, to be really honest with you. I know it was early. I don't know if it was that early.
Yeah. It was early in the morning, and
because we had to do our pilgrimage to Haight Street.
Yeah,
and we had to find it first.
Yeah. We walked all the way. I thought from, and I know that bus station was on like Market and First.
Yeah, that's a long
all the
walk.
way from there. It was like 2 miles or so.
Well, that was like our walk when we had to go to work.
Yeah,
because we started off in Pine Street to Visadero and ended up walking down to 11th Street and Market.
Oh yeah,
that's where the bus took us to San Francisco Airport
to go to work.
Yeah.
We walked a lot back then. So I remember walking up Haight Street for the first time, the three of us, and when we got up there to Haight Street, I had this feeling of euphoria. I just so loved being there. And I remember we passed all the restaurants, because they looked a little too expensive. We about second or third block down from Ashbury, we saw this little cafe, little working class cafe, and went in there and had some coffee and donuts.
Yeah.
And I remember on the jukebox, they were playing Somebody to Love by Jefferson Airplane.
Okay.
That was the most spectacular memory.
Yeah, that was that euphoric moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I remember us hanging out there at the cafe. Do you remember us being there at the cafe?
I remember it partially. I just remember sustenance, coffee and a donut to fill that empty hole in my stomach.
Yes, right.
Which we did quite a bit, unfortunately.
Yes. But while we were there at that coffee shop, I think it might have been on the second day, or was it the first day, we met a guy who said he was a social worker. I thought that's what he told us, and he took us three boys to his apartment.
Okay.
And there at his apartment, he rolled a joint, and he took us on a ride around San Francisco to show us the sights. We smoked that pot and got so stoned. I believe that was the first time I ever got stoned on pot.
Yeah.
And I remember me and you were sitting in the back seat, and we started giggling. Do you remember the giggle fest we had? Yeah. I remember riding back there in the back seat, and the guy goes around the corner, and I heard a dog barking in the distance, and I just like, God damn, that's funny.
It didn't take much those days, right?
We started laughing. And then finally, after we rode around in that guy's car, he dropped us off somewhere there in San Francisco. I think it was near Haight Street.
Yeah, but I thought we stopped at his apartment and stayed there just for a couple of hours BSing.
Yes.
And then he drove us back.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I believe that's the case.
And that was like,
remember Jimmy being afraid of the guy, like he might try to attack us or something, and Jimmy saying, that's why I stayed next to that fireplace poker near the fireplace, because I don't pick it up if he was going to try to hurt us.
Oh yeah. He was paranoid the guy was some sort of sexual deviant, or he was just too nice.
Yeah.
We weren't used to that normalcy. That wasn't our normal.
Right.
Life was hard. People had ways and means to get what they wanted. So he was like on guard.
Yeah.
He was on guard. Yeah.
So eventually we somebody told us, you guys should go down to the Diggers. Oh, where's the Diggers? Well, you go down Haight Street and go up that street, whatever they were on. It was just a block up, I think, maybe 2 blocks. And we get over there to the Diggers, which I didn't know anything about the Diggers. Since then, I've read a lot about them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that famous actor, Peter Coyote, was on the staff there. He might have been there the day when we were there.
Yeah.
And I remember going in there in this 3-story Victorian house, and there was like 75 people in there.
Yeah, I just remember being in the basement area, and I think that's where they prepared the food too. Because I remember dark and dingy, and people everywhere, sleeping, crashed out or burned out.
Yeah,
whatever the case. Young kids as well. I mean, not I remember our age.
I remember they fed
16,
us
17.
on like a paper plate or something, lentil soup.
No, I don't remember the lentil. I remember the garbanzo bean soup.
Yeah.
And the garbanzo beans were not cooked fully.
Yeah.
And it tasted really rank.
I remember we hated that food.
Yeah. Oh, God.
We didn't want to go to the Diggers because of that.
And that was like, I don't think we spent that one night there.
Yeah.
And ate there, and then okay, let's get out of here.
But I also think we didn't like the Diggers because we all knew we were underage and we might get busted for being runaways.
Yeah, well, that was always a threat.
Yeah.
And
so we left the Diggers. Oh, one last thing before we leave the Diggers. In the basement of the Diggers, I remember seeing a coffin in that basement. And and I believe the Diggers used that same coffin just a few months later when they had the funeral for the hippie.
The death of the hippie.
The death of the hippie.
Yeah.
And there's photographs of them carrying that coffin down the street.
Down Haight Street. Yeah.
We saw the coffin.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're lucky neither one of us were in it.
Yes.
In the end.
Yeah. But eventually, I know we spent a lot of nights sleeping outdoors, anywhere we could.
Yeah.
We would panhandle, and the line would go, "Hey man, know a place where we can crash?"
Yeah.
And eventually we'd find some place to lay down.
I remember one night we were at one place. The guy was nice enough, and he had some hot tea, and smoked some ganja and all this. And it was a white tile floor, and we're sitting in these high, like bar stool chairs. High, we're sitting there, we're getting really zoned out. I was anyway, and I just flashing on that black and white tile floor, and I just lost it. I was like, I gotta lie down. I was getting I remember sleeping in a closet that night.
Oh wow!
It's there's a mattress in there. You can just crash in there. Okay. I just need somewhere down to earth, somewhere terra firma.